Hi everybody, day 59, Wednesday, 15th of July 2020, doing One Church Again, session 6 on this. And I'm really struggling to briefly put some notes down, so I'm just going to try and say it without much reference to organised notes. Just want to say that the Bible is full of dates and times and people and really specific things that can be checked out historically. No other religious document has that kind of thing about it. So that's a strong thing. And then what I'm coming today is it's got these prophecies that have been written in history that then come true in the future. So I'm going to think about some prophecies regarding Jesus. Obviously, the big famous one is a virgin will give birth. That's in Isaiah chapter 6. And so Mary's a virgin when she gives birth, doesn't she? One of the first prophecies that speaks about Jesus being crucified, doesn't use that word, is in Genesis chapter 3, when Adam and Eve, the serpent has tempted Adam and Eve and they've fallen. God comes and finds out, and he puts a curse on the serpent, and he says, the seed of this woman, somewhere in the future, the seed of this woman is going to come and crush your head. You will strike his heel. That's like the crucifixion being prophesied, you see. But he will crush your head. And so we see this, all the life that is coming out of the life of the Lord Jesus Christ is against the background of this serpent wanting to kill everything and bring death everywhere, which of course he does, but nevertheless, that's a reasonably clear prophecy regarding Jesus. When the wise men turned up at Jesus' birth, they went to the wrong place to start off with. They went to Jerusalem, and they said, "Where's the future king? We want to see this future king that's just been born." And I don't know much about that. So they asked the people, and the prophecies said, "Oh, he'll be in Bethlehem." So they sent them on the way to Bethlehem, because a ruler is going to come out to Bethlehem, you see. And he's going to come from the tribe of Judah and from the house of David. And there's a beautiful prophecy that where David says to the Lord, "I want to build a house for you." The temple, they were still worshipping God using a tent. But David said, "I'm living in a palace. Can I build a house for you?" So God says, "Well, you can't, but your son can build an earthly palace, temple for me. But I'll build you a house." So God puts a promise on David that he will build him a house that will last forever. And this is a spiritual thing. This is the spiritual house of the people of the family of God being gathered together around that promise to David. And so we see when Jesus arrives in the New Testament, there are two genealogies of where he comes from. The first one's in Matthew, and it goes back through David to Abraham, and it starts with Abraham. So it starts with Abraham, comes to David, comes to the time of the exile when they go into exile. After they come out of exile, it's the kings, you see, King David, king, and then they go into exile. When they come out of exile, it's they call them governors, because they don't, when they come out of exile, they're still under the kingship of some greater king, so they call them governors. And it's like that up to the day. So Herod is the king in Jerusalem at the time, but he's not the king of the Jews. He's just the king supervising for Caesar. And then there's another genealogy, which is in Luke's Gospel, which goes back to the exile and to David, and then to Abraham, but it goes back further to Adam and Eve, and saying that Adam is the son of God. So Jesus is being proclaimed in that genealogy as being the Son of God, originating from God. And the Matthew's Gospel diverges from David from the Luke's Gospel. So Matthew's Gospel, Matthew records the genealogy of David through Solomon. Solomon, the king that we've all known about, and that leads to Joseph. So that means, in my opinion, that though they're called governors and though they're not recognised anymore, nevertheless, that the Joseph would be the rightful king of Israel if everybody were having their proper place. And then Luke's gospel, the genealogy goes back to David, but through his second son to Bathsheba, called Nathan. And so that Nathan, so it's David, it's Nathan, it's da 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 da. It says to Joseph again, but Joseph who's pledged to Mary. So in as much as those are two different ones, we reckon that one's for Joseph, this one's for Mary. So what I want to observe is that there was none of the blood of Joseph, who was in a sense the rightly king of Israel, in Jesus, right? But the blood of David came to him by, through Mary, being of that line. Her father was of that line, and see, it's not easy to say this. So that takes you back to that first prophecy, the seed of the woman. So it's the seed of the woman. There's the only blood that is human blood in the Lord Jesus Christ is from this woman. It's not from the man. He gets his kingship from a higher calling, from a higher priestly calling, according to a priest called Melchizedek in the Old Testament. Now, I'm struggling to say it, but that really excites me. All that detail, it's there for us to see clear, No, there's only me looking at it, Nobody else preaches this, but I glory in this because it's just so perfect, that Jesus is this. I promised to finish today, so there's this other big thought that comes out of this. So that promise, those two prophecies are fulfilled. That Jesus will come from the house of David, and he'll be of the seed of the woman. So that genealogy goes right back to Adam and Eve. And then the other big thing that comes out of this is then Jesus is not the son of James, of Joseph. So after Jesus is born, Joseph gets to sleep with Mary, doesn't he? And he has some children with her. And the first boy of so the firstborn, who will be the next king, is a guy called James. And the lovely thing that unfolds through the Acts of the Apostles is that James starts off with Peter and the apostles, but pretty quickly they're dispersed. Peter is killed. He's not said out in the Acts of the Apostle how he's killed or anything like that. But Peter obviously is taken out and killed in the Roman Empire. Not the Jews, I don't think, got him. He was they say he was crucified upside down, but I don't know whether that's true or not. What was I saying? Oh yeah, and James, the brother of Jesus, who's the legitimate king of Israel, gets to be the leader of the church. Now, I don't know anybody else is saying that. The last thing to say here, I'm finishing, I've seen my time as well gone, is that James, endured then until the fall of the Roman, not the fall, the persecution of the Jews and the persecution of the Christians in the late AD 66 or AD 70, not sure. Wikipedia has both those numbers there. And a couple of years before that persecution, James, according to a historian called Josephus, who is a very respected historian, he says that the Jews who never believed in Jesus stoned James to death in about, I guess that would be AD 64 or something like that. And then a couple of years later, and some of the Jews blamed the Jews for doing that, saying this is God's punishment. The temple gets destroyed and everything. So the Jewish nation has not had a temple since AD 66 or AD 70. So they've not been able to make sacrifices, because you can only make sacrifices at that temple. There's only one place to make a sacrifice, and it's at that temple. So all these years the Jews have existed in their religious modes with not being able to make a sacrifice. And my observation, of course, is they don't need a sacrifice, because the sacrifice has occurred in the Lord Jesus Christ on the cross. Sorry I took so long over that. But we'll do something else tomorrow. Okay, God bless. More normal reflections, okay. But I like all that kind of stuff. It took a lot of thinking about, because nobody helped me with that. Okay, that's one of mine. That tells you whether I'm mad or not, okay. See you, bye.